Hey guys, it's John McBride here, a developer advocate at Citrix, and I wanted to put this little dev snack together to talk about the new Citrix Developer extension for mobile that we've just pushed out to the Visual Studio gallery, um, and wanted to kind of put a little video together to show you what's available in it. It's an early build, and we're looking to get feedback from it from you guys about it, what kind of additional samples and what stuff you'd like to see targeting mobile in this extension. So with that, we can kind of get started. So at the end of the video, we'll put some links where you can actually download it and try it out, and show you our user voice site that you can give us additional feedback if you want. So here we have Visual Studio. It's available for community. This is Pro. And we have the new Microsoft emulator for Android running here. So when the extension gets installed, you'll have a couple new project types, so that we can create a new project, file a new project, and you can see when the extension gets installed under the Citrix node. Under storefront for these samples, there's will be an additional node called Xamarin. Right now we have three kind of Lego blocks that you can start building your apps with. One is an authentication, a resource listing, and then retrieve and launch your applications. So we'll walk through each one of these in this quick little video and show you what each one does and jump a little bit into the code, but not too much. This is really meant to be an overview. We'll do some additional deep dives into some of the code and some additional dev snacks that we're going to put together. So we'll click on Storefront Authentication, and we'll stick with this really cool name down here. Say OK. First thing you notice is we're going to prompt you for your storefront information. So these samples require you to have an existing Citrix infrastructure with a Storefront 3 running in your environment. So with that, we'll actually put our storefront address here, the website URL. So this is the web URL that you install your receiver web in. And then our user and our password and then our domain. If you are using SSL, you can select this checkbox here. You'll notice this information dialog is going to be consistent with the next two examples that we show. So since we use this information to build up the sample and do some token replacements and stuff. So we'll say OK here. We're actually going to build up the sample. This is using the Xamarin stack, so you will need Xamarin to get started with this. So we're utilizing C# experience to get you guys up and running pretty quick with some of these samples. So once we create it, you can see we add a couple helper classes here for authentication, and then build up our main activity here for Android and Xamarin. So we can just run it here. You'll see that it actually gets pushed out to the Visual Studio emulator for Android. Wait a little bit while it does it. So since this is an authentication example, it's really just going to show us information that comes back from the authentication mechanism. So we're going to get the auth ID, the session ID, and the token back from Storefront. So we say click to authenticate here. We're going to provide the authentication back into the Storefront, and you can see now we actually have our auth ID, session ID, and token that we're going to need for all subsequent requests. So that's all these samples are like I said, Lego blocks that you can build on top of. They're not meant to be sexy or anything. They're just meant to show you how to get started. So we can stop it. You can see here we're calling some of our helper classes that we added and checking for auth information. So if we look at this, our helper class here, everything in here for Android is async await, so you can do it in the background. And then here's our main authentication class. We'll leave checking out the code in these samples as an exercise for you guys to download the extension and start playing around with it. This is really meant to be a little bit of a high level overview, and just show you what's available in the extension and to get some additional feedback. So let's take a look at the next example, right? So the next example, we'll say file new project again. We'll look at the resource listing. Now this is going to show us a list of published applications that I have available to me when I authenticate. And we have to give it our same storefront information. We can say, okay, we'll build up the sample, do a token replacement for that information. If we just take a real quick look, we'll look at classes. You can see we add a couple additional ones. So here's our post authentication that we add for authentication, and then we add an additional 2, which is to get information regarding the application, things like name and resource location. And then here's our helper class that actually helps us do that, right? To actually make the web call to get that information. So for this example, we have to do 2 things to get it running. One is we have to change our icon here to be none. And then we actually have to add the JSON.NET component here. So we can say get more components and then just search for JSON. And then the first one is JSON.NET. We'll actually add this to the app. You won't have to do this in subsequent updates to our extension. Just we have to add that into the sample. We haven't done that yet. So you can see it's the reference got added to it. So now we can actually run this sample. You see we're pushing out to the emulator. And you can see not a highly UI application, but we'll say retrieve applications here. You see we're loading applications. And you can see we actually list the 3 applications that we have available to us. So this sample really shows you how to do the authentication, to take that auth ID and then make the subsequent call to get the list of resources that are available to me, and then list that out in the emulator, or in the Android app, sorry. So this has some interesting things, right? So here the sample is using a data adapter. So we're showing you how to use the data adapter with Xamarin with a list of our custom resources to pull that into a list view and show it in a list view UI on the Android app. So again, exercise for the viewers is to check out the sample and dig into the code. This is all freely available, so you can check it out in the extension. So the next one we'll look at getting the ICA file and the launch information back from an existing resource that the user selects. So here we can go file a new project. That would be the storefront retrieve and launch application. So we'll stay with our super cool name down here and say okay. Like I said, the common theme between all these samples is the request for your storefront information here. So we'll say that. We'll give it our standard user. And our domain. So we're going to build up the example here. We want to do that same 2 things, right? We want to change this resource over to a none, and then we need to add the JSON.NET component. So you can get that by right-clicking on components, saying get more components. And we'll search for JSON. And then we can say add to app. And that should be good. So we'll just do a test build here to make sure we all build right. One succeeded, that's great. So we'll actually run this guy and show you what it looks like in the emulator. say it's going to look the same basically as the previous examples. One button says retrieve applications, and we'll show you where it goes from there. So here we are. We can say retrieve applications here. You'll see that we'll actually get a loading applications. We see the same three lists, or the same list of 3 applications. We can now actually tap on calculator though. Let's see, tap on calculator. Oh, I'm not sure what's going on there. I'm gonna try Notepad. So when we tap on Notepad, you can see we get, here's our ICA file. So an exercise for the viewer would be to see what happens when you click on launch app, right? So what we'll do is basically take this ICA file, pass it to our receiver application, and have it launch it. So you can see that we're actually pulling down the ICA file from the application, or from the API, and showing it to the user. So that's the kind of 3 examples that we have currently in the mobile extension. What we're looking for is an early build of the extension. We're looking for some feedback. What other samples everybody's looking for? Targeting mobile. What other SDKs would help you guys out from a Citrix standpoint? And if you want to check out the extension, you can go to the gallery. You can go to the gallery here. We'll put a link to this in the video too. But if you go to the gallery and search for Citrix, you want to look for the Citrix Developer Mobile VS extension. This is used in conjunction with our original Citrix Developer extension for Visual Studio. But this targets Xamarin in some of the mobile scenarios. So go ahead and download this. It's free. Let us know your feedback, what you guys are interested in, what we should add to it. Click on the suggest features link here that takes us to our user voice site. And we'd like to know what you guys think. So with that, you can always reach out to me. I'm at John McBride on Twitter. Feel free to shoot me a tweet. You can also follow Citrix Developer. We all follow that. I'd love to hear what you guys think and what else you guys need. So with that, I appreciate it. And reach out to me and let me know what you guys think. Thanks.